What's the worst I hate to break it to you moment you had with someone? 1. I used to work in a customer care call center for a major telecommunications company. A woman called in one day to inquire about $299 charges on her bill from Lava Life. She kept pressing about the charges, what they were, and I had to explain to her that Lava Life is a dating service and that the charges were legitimate. If she didn't make them, did someone else live in her house who might have? There was only her husband, and I heard her go from but he would never. Do I have to go now as it set in? That was almost 20 years ago now and I still feel awful about it. 2. Having to tell a student who was almost totally blind that she likely couldn't be an ER nurse. She and her dad moved to our district and at the IEP, her dad starts talking about how he can't wait for Sue to go to nursing school. I frantically scanned my brain, trying to think of how someone who was going to need Braille would be able to do that job. Then Sue piped up to say that her dream was to be an ER nurse. Her prior district told her she could do anything, including this. She had a degenerative disease that would eventually make her blind. I talked to my friends who are nurses. I talked to our career lady at the school. I researched, but there just wasn't any way someone who couldn't see could be an ER nurse. I reconvened the IEP and had to explain this. I know both were in denial, but I was not happy that the prior district pumped up this idea. I mean, sure, there is lots she could still do, but that just wasn't one of them. Then another student came from the same district with the idea she could be a CSI investigator. She was also nearly blind. 3. There was a rule at my job where only one of these two supervisors could be off at a time. One of them loved to take a full week off work during holidays, to get more bang for his PTO buck. One year, he had Thanksgiving week off, but the other supervisor had family come to town that week on late notice. The other supervisor asked him to cancel just one of his days so she could spend the day with family. He declined, even after she basically begged him, and he even said he didn't have anything to do that day. She then proceeded to take PTO days every Wednesday of a holiday week for the next calendar year, effectively blocking him from taking his cheap weeks off. He told me that he thought it was funny because he knew she didn't have enough time to take all those vacation days off, and she'd eventually have to cancel some of them. I got to tell him, I hate to break it to you, but she only took 2 hours off each of those days. See, the rule didn't differentiate between a partial or whole day, so she only had to burn 24 or so hours to block him. He looked devastated. It was kind of petty on both of their parts, but I give her credit for being creative in her retribution and don't blame her a bit for what she did. 4. I once had to tell a friend that the crypto expert he hired was actually part of a pyramid scheme. He stared at me in silence for a few seconds before saying, I already invested everything. 5. Had a friend ask me about some green sign in the distance. It was in fact a sodium vapor sign giving off an intense orange light which sodium vapor is known for. Had to tell him right there that he was colorblind. He was in his mid-30s too. A lot of odd things that had happened in his past fell into place for him that day. 6. I had a guy working for me that was extremely nice, easy to get along with, and wildly inept. Not even like low effort but just, not capable of learning seemingly basic tasks. We tried everything. Coaching, giving him legitimate checklist instructions, having a team lead sit with him for a couple weeks to walk him through basics, everything. Everyone said the same thing. He just couldn't do the job. Everything he did had to be double checked by somebody else, which meant that we might as well have somebody else do it. But everyone liked the guy. They thought he was easygoing and cool to be around. Everything. But still he just straight up couldn't do that job. So I had to find another place for him in the company that would better match his skills. The option would be for him to either take the lower job with lower pay, or he would be fired, with severance. I was not looking forward to the conversation. I called him in for a one-to-one to break it to him and the first thing he started with was, hey boss, before we start I just want to tell you that I really feel like I've been doing a great job here and I would like to talk about a raise. Yeah, that conversation was not a fun one. 7. I had to tell my friend that the online girlfriend he'd been talking to for months was actually a scammer using stolen photos. He was planning to send her money to come visit, and breaking the news to him was one of the toughest conversations I've ever had. 8. My best friend in high school was overweight and would sweat profusely. We would come in after lunch in Texas and he would smell awful. I think he would wear his clothes without washing them after sweating. We had English after and the AC sucked so teacher put a fan in the window. He would sit in front of the fan and blow his funk over everyone. The class got together and voted that I should be the one to tell him. Well, I had to break it to him that for the last year he has smelled horribly. I felt pretty bad but he never stunk again. 9. I came back from my first day of finals in my first semester of college to find 2 women in suits and a campus police officer waiting for me. The women were mental health counselors from the university. One of them tried to talk to me but started crying. The other one couldn't say anything either. It was finally the cop who told me that someone had broken into my mother's house that morning and murdered her, my mom. 10. I designed a simple device that solves a problem that has plagued our industry. I also came up with a few other ways to solve it, and I patented them all. I leased the manufacturing rights of the cheapest and easiest fix exclusively to the company I work for. The issue it solved costs our clients millions upon millions of dollars in losses per year. Ever since I essentially became a one-man department, I get to tinker and solve problems, write training manuals, and all around just help out. Every once in a while some corporate dum-dum thinks my position is superfluous. They don't know who I am, or the fact I'm solely responsible for our company's competitive edge. I had an upper management type guy try to explain to me, in a very condescending way, how a specific device works and how to install it. All completely wrong. I wrote the manual for it. I own the patent. It's named after me. In this particular case, I asked him to read what was written on the little sticker on the side, because I forgot my glasses. Then I incredibly subtly played with my ID badge, that the same name as that little sticker. 11. When I got the call that my mom had passed, they wouldn't say that she had passed, or that she had died. They kept saying medical things like, she doesn't have a pulse, she is not breathing, etc. It took a long time to understand that they were saying she was gone, and that it was final.